Minister, is this the first time you've been to Bahrain?
Yes, sir, this is my first time.
And you've come here for what main reason?
In fact, we have a community of about 200,000 plus people working in this country. A group of those 200,000, they have a club, a social kind of a club. They invited me to be with them to speak about certain issues of common concern like their welfare, remittance problems, visa issues, more employment, more wages, if possible, these sort of things. So they invited me over here. After I came here, our embassy, which is very agile, I should say now, in a day, they could fix up an appointment with the finance minister of this kingdom. And I met him this morning about 45 minutes. He was very kind and very helpful, and we had a very productive talk between the two of us. And then I went over to the chamber, Bahrain Chamber of Commerce, of whose chairman, the vice chairman, and other senior officials were there. We had about half an hour with them. So between these two meetings, we covered a lot of economic development, political grounds also.
So with it, so let's say the Chamber of Commerce, that would be to do with businesses between Bangladesh and it. But the finance minister, or the Minister of Finance, that would be to do with imports and exports, wouldn't it?
Imports, exports, where we stand, why not explore more business? But again, I was very honest about it. We don't have much goods now to export to them. They have a lot of goods in terms of oil and gas, maybe, which we are in any way importing from Qatar and Saudis from before. I told him they have natural resource in terms of gas and oil. We have huge natural resource in terms of manpower, access. So we have 250,000 almost working now. We can send them 2 more millions in a few months' time if they wanted. So we are open for business in that light.
Who Does What.tv has a good relationship with the Bangladesh community here, especially the embassy. And the Asian tiger is rising. The little middle Asian tiger is rising. And the first question was, well, have you got any money? And I get this, well, we're getting a little bit now. So how's Bangladesh doing? Is it rising?
We think we are rising, but then again, our saying is not enough. The pundits, the gurus, the economists, and people who do in the World Bank, people in the IMF, people in the Asian Development Bank, people in the Islamic Development Bank here in Jeddah, they all agree that Bangladesh has moved now, moved forward, better, stronger. Where in terms of various figures, output, GDP, per capita income, exports, remittances, everything has been impressively positive over the particularly last 8-9 years during the regime of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is now leading this government. So there's a period of complete stability, not those menacing hartals and work stoppages which we had in the 90s and 10s of this century initially. That is over now. We are working hard. We are doing a lot of good exports in yarns and pharmaceuticals and ICT and fisheries and vegetables, etc., etc. But then again, we are also sending out a lot more people than before. We are training up these people because we found that raw human labor which export doesn't get a good wage compared to our friends from India, Sri Lanka, Philippines and others. So we have started a very quick, fast crash program, we call it, of teaching them the rudimentaries, small skills like masonry, bricklaying, cooking, housework, hospitality work, this sort of things. We have set up many institutes all over the country. We have hired instructors, so we are now training our people. Meanwhile, people who are beyond training or cannot take training now because of difficulties would like to move out immediately for shortage of work at home. We're sending out fresh recruits to Middle East, to Malaysia in the East, and to that is Gulf countries here. Mostly, number one remains Saudi Arabia, of course. Second would be UAE, the Emirates. Oman is taking in a lot. Qatar is taking quite a lot. And of course, Bahrain. So these are the... Iraq, after the war is over now, we are sending out a lot more people. We are sending out some more to Libya also, despite the disturbances there now. So that's our major export. And with the authorities here in Bahrain today, I again and again stress that point that we are very peace-loving, peaceable, hard-working people. We don't go for bombing and laying out traps here and there to kill people. Not that we know of, and we are trying to put them down, those who have come into our notice. So we thought that people in the Middle East, particularly in these Gulf countries, we have tremendous scope of sending in people, and they need them also. So we are open.
I'll come to that in a moment, but let's go back as far as the finance minister of a country. Now, is there a danger? Do you see a danger or a seesaw effect if you're reliant on foreign remittance for your GDP, if you like, you know what I mean, rather than exports, other than people, I mean, goods? Do you see a danger of anything collapsing there?
Well, it can always happen. We can't read the future. If something really happens in our main working areas, like in the Gulf countries or in Malaysia, there is a political upheaval, something happening and work stops here, it can be a dangerous thing. But the present trend that we see in this part of the world and in Malaysia also, both are very stable societies. As a matter of fact, we think Middle East is changing positively now with the recent changes in the Saudi Arabia. The tremendous change, we would say, in terms of long-term significance. I think our prospects are going to improve every day. With the end of the war finally in Iraq and possibility of peace in Syria and that part of the world, we don't think we're not very scared. We have a window of opportunity here for the rest at least 10, 15 years.
Well, I'll come back to that because you mentioned people power moving out. But do you think, you are advancing exports, rice and vegetables, as you say. Do you think that Bangladesh is underestimated in the world?
Unfortunately, we began very poorly way back in the 70s when we split and we won our independence after a bloody war. Tremendous devastations in the country. Unfortunately, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the United States, the supreme power at that moment, Dr. Kissinger, I can name him, no problem. He had made a comment about Bangladesh being a basket case. Very unfortunate, very unkind, I would say. And he said there was no hope for this country, sort of. That created a ripple effect all over. And people would think that, oh, here is the Bangladeshi maybe looking for some kind of a dole or something. That did persist for some time. Following that comment, there was some upheaval within my own country also. Father of the nation, the person who freed us from bondage, he was killed by some very indisciplined soldiers within our armed forces. And there was a series of military rules in our country for about 2 decades. So those are not very friendly times. Those are behind us now. We have elected governments now, a government which understands the tone of the people and works for the people, addresses the main issue of poverty now, tries to link the rural and the urban areas by opening up the roads and building bridges and small links here and there, opening up schools, etc., etc. So dark days are behind us, but the image stays longer. The negative image is still there. But I believe it's improved now, and it's improving it's becoming better. Whenever I go out now, whenever we go out now, we get more attention. That shows that we must be changing a lot. Plus, we are not starving like in the 10, 15 years back. We had to import a lot of free food support from United States and World Food Program and European Union. Those have been cut down. We are not taking much of that now. And then with the remittances improving every day and exports growing, a very huge reserve by our standards of about 35 billion US dollars in our hand, which gives us a strength of import strength of about 10 months, which is unusual. Economists say 3 months is good enough. So we have 3 times more than that. We are on a very solid ground now.
Well, I've noticed that, Bangladesh, half its infrastructure is destroyed every year with huge monsoons. Nobody cares. We used to see television pictures in the 60s and 70s of devastation, and you say you have to import aid and so on. But Bangladesh doesn't do that anymore. You handle it yourself, don't you, all together now?
Absolutely. We don't import food now. We don't import a lot of basic necessities. Edible oils, we are short, but then we bring in a raw form and we sort of, what this
Process.
yeah, process it and then send out. Pharmaceuticals have been miracle. We export to countries like United States. FDA has cleared us this year. The American FDA is a very high standard organization. We have been exporting to Soviet, to Russia, to the European Union. This is rising. ICT, we have very young population, which is English educated, with a very modern outlook. So in ICT, we have tremendous possibilities. Fortunately, also during the last decade or so, there have been fewer calamities, monsoon calamities, than in the 70s and 80s. And with the menace of climate change, our coastal areas face a lot of dangers. We expected support from the Global Climate Fund. Unfortunately, that did not come. We have set up our own climate fund of our own, with our own budget. So this work that is required to face up to the climate change calamities, we are facing that on our own. The point here is that the new government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, in every aspect of our life, be it economics or politics, we would like to do it on our own, stand on our own legs, try not to raise hands as much as possible and do it ourselves. I can give an example in terms of building this Padma Bridge, huge big project for a country like ours. It's about 9 kilometers long over a mighty river. World Bank, I can name it even, we were negotiating with them. They promised to give us money for building the bridge. After about 2-3 years of protracted negotiations, unfortunately, it did not materialize. Rather, we were given the fault that they smelled some kind of corruption things there, which did not happen. Money had not been disbursed, so how we could steal it, we don't know. Then they said, okay, fine. Since the money is not coming from them, we will do it ourselves. And some people who are very, they didn't think we could do it, but we are doing it now. We have built the bridge almost halfway through. You can go and see the bridge coming over the river. So this is one example I'm giving you, that we can handle it ourselves. It has raised our strength, our inner strength. We are confident, more confident than ever before.
Now let's go back to within the country. You're building the bridge, you're increasing infrastructure, education, education, education. Now, as if you like, an accountant, they're always the most hated people in a company. What about you at the government? You're the one that they're going to say, we need schools here, give us the money, please, Minister.
That is the case all over the world. Even a country flush with money like Saudi Arabia, they're short of money. United States is probably most heavily indebted nation in the world, I'm told. They probably owe a lot to the Chinese now. Yeah, there's a lot of clamor for money in my country, but that is known. We are not concerned, but we are not scared. Because with the growth, 7.23% growth every year, it's expanding. So the new demands, new increases. As far as I am concerned, it's not the money shortage, management. Whether I can match the need with the flow of the money. Those two needs to be matched well, so that there is less wastage in terms of time and cash, and better value for money, as you would say in simple English. That is the most difficult part. I am very confident with the growth of 7.4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the coming few years. The demands clamor for more cash for education, for health, for nutrition, for infrastructure, we can face ourselves. Plus, we've been very, very good borrowers from World Bank and Asian Development Bank and Islamic Development Bank. We never failed on any of the, any of the installments in the past. We've been very regular. So we can get as much money as we need. Chinese New China Initiative Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, we can borrow as much as we want, but that can be a risk also. If we sort of binge borrowing, that can be dangerous. So we are careful about, we need to borrow, but we have to see what we are borrowing for, the quality of the work that we are going to invest in. So education, maternity, childcare, rural infrastructure, mind it, the word rural infrastructure. Those are the areas that we are giving stress on. And most important, electrification. You know, interestingly, when Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009, for the second time, 2009, 30% of Bangladeshis had electricity cover over their head. We have, as of today, 85%. In another 1 year to 1.5 years' time, we'll have 100% electrification in our country. That's a great, great leap forward. And this government, of which I am a minor part, we have made tremendous jump on this in this area.
Are you worried about corruption at all?
We are very worried about that. That's a global menace. Even a disciplined society like China, you hear from time to time even death sentences for very high ups. We have fared rather poor on that score. TIB, Transparency International, has in the past has in the past said about corruptions in Bangladesh, but it's coming down by our estimation. But of course, our people are not very happy about that. Whatever is there, the corruption we would like to completely do away with. But I admit there are cases of corruption, particularly in the banking sector, which the borrowers, powerful people borrowed and then took the money away and left the country or whatever. So ate it up. So that kind of thing has happened in the banking sector. We are addressing it very strongly. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has changed the rules and regulations. She has broken up all the boards of the banks, put in new people there who are college professors, retired senior bankers and bureaucrats, so that more stable now than ever before.
Well, it seems to be worldwide, the less money a country has, the more corruption. The more money they have, and you're advancing, the less corruption. I don't know if you agree with that, Rima.
Proportionately, yes. So when we had much fewer money than we have now, there was smaller corruption proportionately, but it's more painful, naturally. Yeah. Now that we have much more money than we had in the past, we have much larger corruption, but the impact probably is not to the extent that it was 30, 40 years before. So that's the brighter side of the bad situation. But I'll be frank with you, probably corruption is a menace would be difficult to come out of in the near future.
Tourism is money, isn't it?
Yes, sure.
Bangladesh has, well, I should unlimited facilities for tourists, underestimated. How do you see that developing? And do you welcome tourists? Are you going to give them a message?
We love tourists, but again, there is danger also. If tourism really changed countries, then Nepal would be a very rich country now, which is not. Nepal is a very Sri Lanka would be a very rich country. They receive 10 times more than we even can think of. So ecotourism, sensitive about our own environment, and not losing sight of what's happening. We would like to regulate, not control. We would like to see how many tourists our economy or our present infrastructure can comfortably take. And we would like to see that the tourists do protect our pristine environment, protect our heritage, safeguard our cultural values. So we are very tiptoeing, but money is needed badly. But we are not dying for it, to be very honest with you. We want tourists to come, not in our terms. Of course, they are welcome to come in and enjoy themselves, but see that not at the cost of our environment and our culture and our beliefs and our faith and our heritage.
There's no more terrorism in Bangladesh than anywhere else. You could be anywhere in the world. But you do seem to get an awful lot of publicity about it when it happens there. So is there anything to fear?
Yes, there was a very serious case, holy artisan case you might have heard. Young, educated Bangladeshis coming from upper income groups receiving English education home and abroad. They turned out to be terrorists and killed some very innocent Japanese and Italian who had come to a restaurant to have a meal in the evening. That drew attention all over the world. Why world? Even within our own country. This was one incident. Another was at the time of Eid prayers, Eid al-Azha, the sacrificial Eid. There was a very large gathering of about 1 million people, and these goons had come out and tried to attack. They failed, but it drew a lot of attention. So, and then there was a priest, Italian priest, up in northern Bengal, he was, also killed. So there are stray cases like that. Somehow, again, we can't really explain. Some of these negative cases, in our case, in Bangladesh's case, it drew much more attention than a similar case would draw attention. As well, like say, 10 people dying in the streets of Bangladesh for some kind of terror activity, it will everyone would, CNN, BBC, you would see all over. Or say a garment factory collapsing and people dying there. I'm not naming any country here. I know of countries where miners die every few months underground in 10s and 50s and 20s. You would also know it. But they don't seem to be getting so much attention. Just my way of looking at it. But somehow, maybe we are not an exciting country, or we are not a playful country, or we are not a militarily potent country. I don't know. I can't really explain. We deserve better press than we are getting. But I can't really help it. We have to work hard and try to improve it.
Can you honestly say that you do not suppress anything as a government when you get this news?
Well, evil must be suppressed. Although on a very humanitarian ground, there are human rights groups who would rise to, they have the case, I would not say that. But an evil is an evil, and we believe in giving justice to everyone. To someone who is trying to cut throats of innocent people, because we have death sentences operating in our country. So we are strong on that. But we don't do it summarily. We go through the process. We have our criminal procedure code, which is established since the British times. And we don't cut corners there. Nobody can say that. We have set up special courts headed by trained senior judges who are qualified to handle these sort of cases. They take their time, and the people who are given sentences, whatever, they can appeal. They can go up to the highest court in the country. So we follow it persistently, strongly, but we don't cut corners here.
So you don't think this influx of Rohingya, or Rohingya, however you pronounce it, is
Rohingya, we say.
Rohingya, is it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
correct. It's not. Is it a problem for you? Or?
Absolutely, it's a problem not only for us, for the human society as a whole. Because you see, what's their problem? What is they are Muslims. It's an ethnic cleansing. We don't say it now. The UN says it officially. European Union has said it officially. These people have been living in that part of Myanmar, which is just on our borders. Interestingly, again, this bit of land, which is called Rakhine now, part of Myanmar where these people live, this had been part of ancient Bengal.
Yeah.
Read the history books. This had been part of ancient Bengal for centuries. The British, when they ruled Indian subcontinent, for a time they had annexed Burma also, or they had put their foot down there also. Now they had Indo-Burmese war. And in 1930, I think, if I'm not very wrong, they signed up a treaty with the king of Burma, ceded this part of Bengal to Burma. So it became part of Burma, what now Myanmar. So these people who, these Rakhine people are there in Bangladesh, within Bangladesh. They're living for centuries. We can't tell them now go back to Myanmar, or you go back to Laos and to Mongolia or whatever. If this were applied, many countries would be unstable. So it's very unfortunate. They wear the same dress as the Myanmaris do, speak the same language, use the same Burmese Myanmar names. You won't know whether it's a Muslim or a Buddhist if you saw his Myanmar's name. Even then, they are marked out, and they've been very cruelly pushed out of the country. They died on boats, children, women, while crossing the bay. They were pushed out by the Myanmarese security people. So that's a very, very, and they've been with us since they've been for many years. About 300,000 had been living in our country for the last 20 years or so. Now we have another 600,000-700,000 in the new influx. So we have 1 million plus now. Now a country like ours, which is just managing at the margin, we don't have frightfully rich people. We are not that. Our reserves are good, but not that much that we can afford. So this can disrupt the tip, they can sort of tip it or tip the balance. But Our Prime Minister said, we are 160 million. The world knows on a small bit of land. We can take 1 million more. If they're here, they've come in, they're our guests. We'll feed them, we'll do our best. We're feeding them, we're sheltering them. You see, in that corner of Bangladesh, very thin. We have a little forestry there. You see, our country is flat, not much forestry there. That part has some forest, natural forest. Now these people are cutting out the forests, setting up housings of their own, burning it as fuel, and then going into the localities and trying to steal jobs from social problems. But we have to be kind towards them also. UNHCR and other UN bodies are also helping us. We appreciate that. Some countries, Malaysia, did come out very strongly initially, helped us. OIC is doing its part. Turkish president has been very outspoken about. We appreciate that also. By and large, globally, except for one or two very strong exceptions, people have said that Rohingyas have been unfairly treated. So it's the job of everyone now to see that they fairly go back from where they came.
So obviously comes to your door as well. Give me the money to help these people, doesn't it? Right on your doorstep.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, well, again, this brings us. We heard there was a comment by a very senior Myanmar's leader who is globally respected. It was a rather unwise statement, I would say, that Bangladesh is making money out of the Rohingyas. That would be very, very unfortunate. Out of miseries of these poor people who don't want to make money. And that's never enough. The broken infrastructure, the loss in forestries and fisheries and, these are a lot of loss. But we are facing it. We just can't shoo away these people. They are with us. For now.
So finally, Minister, what are you taking back to Bangladesh from Bahrain?
Friendship. I met with a very senior minister of Finance. I met with the chairman of the trade bodies, two very important persons. Both of them were very positive. Both of them appreciated our recent changes. They knew. I was surprised, I was happily surprised to see that they knew every detail, the growth rate, the number of people working here, and the little problems they face on a daily basis, they were aware of it. So I'm carrying back a message of friendship, understanding, awareness that there is a possibility of working more, there is a prospect of more business, more trade, more friendship. This is the message that I'm taking back, and I found a very, very positive, friendly environment here.
Well, we wish you all the success and hope that you can send your bodies out here to get those exports going. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. It's been very kind. Thank you. We appreciate it.